Expedition 33 has always been an industry plant. This game is not popular, it is not successful, and it certainly has not led to a renaissance of turn based RPGs. But that is the narrative that Western video game journalists have tried to push for this specific title over the past several months. A magnum opus of art and culture in an industry plagued by greed, with a budget of a bag of potato chips and a passionate team, a story moving everyone to tears, and gameplay that revives an entire genre and redeems redeems the French. Wow, that is just bizarre. Make sure it doesn't win game of the year because no PvP. Like, what? Okay, unbelievable. So, Expedition 33 really was the turn-based game for people who despise the genre and know absolutely nothing. It's November, and they're still running the "it revived the genre" angle. These people are just choosing ignorance. And that's kind of my take as well. Like, looking at Expedition 33, looking at its legacy and its reputation, seeing what like everyone has been doing to hype up this absolute slop, it does need to be understood that this game has no credibility at all. The people hyping it up don't play RPGs, they don't play the genre, they don't have a lot of experience with it, they don't know anything. And that's why they're making such ignorant statements as say this is better than Final Fantasy VI, or like this is like a JRPG, or like they keep saying like this combat system is completely original and has never been done before. Like you keep seeing things like that being said in this community, in this space, and it's just absolutely cringe because turn-based RPGs never went away. You have stuff like Dragon Quest, you have Mario and Luigi Brothership, you have games like the Bravely Default games. You have like Octopath Traveler. There are so many better examples of high quality turn based RPGs than Expedition 33. Like, it is like remarkable how so many people tried to push this idea that this was some innovative thing, especially when it came to the combat, because apparently a lot of people were hyping up the combat system for this game. Is that like, oh, you can parry enemy attacks in a turn based game? And I looked into it, and the creators specifically acknowledged this. It's just what Mario and Luigi does. Okay, so you're telling me that Expedition 33 is some unique creative RPG because it has Mario and Luigi's combat system. That's kind of my mindset, like looking at this, is that like the only people who would look at Expedition 33 and think it was something unique and high quality are people who don't play other video game properties, and especially after last year's disrespect and hatred towards the Mario and Luigi Brothership. Why exactly would we ever take industry insiders praising a carbon copy as some legit 10 out of 10 masterpiece? Seriously, if you're going to like disrespect the series that directly influenced this game's combat, like why exactly would I ever take anything you say seriously? And that's kind of my mentality looking at this, looking at like the hype cycle for this game and everyone like hyping it up as game of the year. It all just feels very fake. It feels more hollow than a hollow knight, a vessel of pure emptiness. It just feels like it has no genuine momentum to it whatsoever. And that's why we're kind of in this awkward phase where we're going into the game of the year season. Everyone's hyping this up as game of the year. Everyone's saying it's going to win. Everyone says it's a big deal, that it revived the genre. It is going to win. It's going to be this huge deal. And yet simultaneously, nobody cares, because game award shows have no credibility whatsoever, right? This is the same demographic that's seething about the Grammys not giving Expedition 33 the best game soundtrack. And they're trying to say that like the Grammys are out of touch and that they don't know anything, but like the reality is like the Game Awards are just the Grammys for games. It's like the same exact thing. It has the same exact problem of just nepotistic bias, not knowing anything about what they're talking about. There are just so many examples, I think, of just why Expedition 33 is just very blatantly an industry plant. I especially love the claims that this is some like indie upstart thing that was made by a passionate team. When if you look into it, like yes, they did have investors. Yes, they signed a Hollywood deal before the game came out. Yes, they had like resources. This idea that they were like a small independent team is just a meme at this point. And I really do think we need to like make a distinction between like genuine, legit indie teams versus like giant like mid-sized teams that are like that have investors, because this is the same trick they pulled with Baldur's Gate 3 where they tried to say it was like independently owned when in reality like Tencent owned like 30% of the brand, and like Swen's just gonna like sell it to them when like he dies or retires. So it's like, so yeah, Tencent effectively owns Larian. It effectively controls them. And yet there's this mindset among the community that like, well, Swen owns it. Like it's just a giant cope. That's just the mentality of these people of that they just want to prop up this illusion. They know that gamers are disillusioned with big AAA products, so they're trying to create the illusion that these mid-sized like double A games still exist and they're still getting produced. And the actuality of it is just like those games never went anywhere. They were always exclusive to Nintendo consoles. Like I was playing No More Heroes in 2007 on the Wii and like fell in love with it. And like seeing so many people like try and write it off as like a lazy action game when in actuality it was way better than anything that they were playing on any console. That's a very good example of Nintendo superiority. Is just how games like that could come out of nowhere and succeed, be successful, find an audience, but not necessarily overshadow the real, genuine, like 10 out of 10 titles. Because the Wii had so many great games going for it that No More Heroes was never hyped as like some system seller or some must own title or like the best game ever made. It's just a good game that a lot of people like. And that's kind of how I think you should go about it, right? You shouldn't be like hyping up a game based on this idea of how many awards it's going to win or how much it's going to sell. Like you should be talking about how much you personally enjoy it. And generally in the gaming community, you don't really see a whole lot of that. Like nearly every single time, what you do end up seeing is a bunch of people spurging out, like doing their best to damage control, like situations like this. Expedition 33 hasn't even been given the Game of the Year award yet, and you already see a lot of people like addressing these very real concerns about the game, about its audience, about their behavior, about their attitude, about the way they hype up their game. It just feels disingenuous, honestly. Like I don't like how the Expedition 33 fan base has conducted themselves. They really are truthfully like the bootleg remake of the Baldur's Gate 3 community, because it's the exact same playbook of pretending this game is cutting edge, that it's far beyond what any other RPG is doing, that nothing Nintendo can do to compete, and in reality, it's just not that big of a deal at all, and nobody cares. That's going to be that's going to be Expedition 33's inevitable fate. Like just like Baldur's Gate 3, it is going to fade into irrelevancy and become forgotten.